Hello, and welcome to Threads of Thought, the podcast where your host discusses her thoughts on literature and academia while crafting something. I am that host, Beth, and since today is the first episode, I thought I would start out with a little information about myself and the journey we're about to go on together. I am the child of two teachers. My father is certified in elementary education, has a doctorate in theology, and has taught biblical studies, ethics, and philosophy at a small university. He is a Church of Christ minister full time, and instead of being in the classroom, he substitutes a lot. My mother is a certified elementary generalist. She's also certified in K-8 math and K-12 art, has a master's in art and a master's in brain-based learning. This woman has stage 4B cancer and was given 6 weeks to live 2 years ago. She's still in her classroom teaching today. I'm their only biological child, and yet somehow still not the favorite. I'm currently finishing up my second semester of working on my own doctorate in children's literature. I'm also a teacher, certified K-8 generalist in K-12 English language arts, currently teaching 8th through 12th grade English language arts and lower elementary music. I'm a single mother and have two children. One is 11, one is 4. As of right now, neither of them want to grow up to be a teacher. The 11-year-old keeps changing her mind, but the 4-year-old is dead set on being a farmer and a nurse who has a pet penguin that somehow knows how to run all of the equipment for both endeavors. Yesterday, in fact, she told me that she wants to live somewhere by the water where penguins live. But if she ever sees a killer whale or a seal, she's going to bop them on the head because they're bullies and they eat penguins, and she cannot abide that. We hate them. She followed that up by saying, "Do you want to know what my favorite whale is?" And I said, "What, baby girl?" She said, "A blue whale. They're the biggest, but they don't bully penguins. They get their protein from other places. And they will fight a killer whale." Love that. Absolutely love that. When I was in my gear of doing my student teaching, my mentor teacher had a science unit where we learned about blue whales, and he lined all of the fourth graders up in the hallway, end to end, well, not end to end, side to side, to show them just how long a blue whale was, and that even all of them together lined up would not quite make the size of a blue whale. And I really wish that he was still teaching and doing that so that I could take her over there to see it now. That's a core memory for me, and right next to it now will be the memory of my 4-year-old telling me that blue whales are the biggest, but they are not bullies. This podcast, as you can probably tell by now, is going to sprinkle in some life events with my family, discussions of the journey to complete my PhD, and literary discussions. These chats will happen while I'm crafting something, whether that be crocheting, cross-stitching, diamond painting, or something else entirely that goes along with today's discussions. I'll let you know what I'm working on and provide updates throughout the discussion, as well as pictures and a transcript being made available on my blog site and hopefully a video of the podcast available on my YouTube channel. Now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's chat about what a typical day looks like for me. Well, I work on crocheting a corner-to-corner blanket for my youngest. Corner-to-corner crochet is a series of double chain clusters worked from one corner diagonally as opposed to in horizontal lines. I'm using this to create a hooded penguin blanket for the 4-year-old who is, as you might have guessed, absolutely obsessed with penguins. Let me just start all of this with saying that I am crazy. So when you hear what all goes into a day, just know that I am well aware of my insanity, and I lean into it on a regular basis. That being said, let us begin at the beginning. For the blanket, that is a chain 6 with a double crochet in the 4th, 5th, and 6th chains from the hook. You then chain 6 more and do the same thing in the 4th, 5th, and 6th chains from the hook. Then you slip stitch into the chain 3 space, chain 3, put 3 double crochets all into that same space. And there we have rows 1 and 2. And just proceed on until you have as far as you want to go before you start to decrease. And it takes it from a corner, so it proceeds out in a triangular fashion. As you decrease, it brings it back down and creates a square or a rectangle. That's the beginning of a corner-to-corner blanket. And for my day, the beginning is the alarm going off at 5 a.m. so that I can pop up, feed the puppies and the kitty cats, make coffee, and get ready to leave by 6:15 at the latest. I teach at a 4-day-a-week school, so every Monday through Thursday, I drive 75 miles one way in the dark, dodging deer and raccoons in order to get there by 7:30, which is when all the teachers are required to be there, and make sure prep is done for grades 8 through 12 ELA and early elementary music. I do often go into the gym where the junior high and high school kids sit waiting on the first bell. I like to talk to them. I have several students who I had last year when I had a little bit of a different schedule, taught more music classes, and I don't have them this year because I was moved to the high school English section. Our high school English teacher from last year has moved up to be an absolutely fabulous principal for us, and I took over his position. So the junior high students that I had in music last year are not all in my classes this year, so I do like to go into the gym and catch up with them, get all of the tea. Sometimes they have me help them with homework they didn't quite understand. So I do that during the mornings if I have everything prepped. And then my classroom is the only classroom that is full-time out in the portables at the back of the school. And when the bell rings at 7:50, the students and I just stream on out there and get ready for our day. That's when the day officially begins. This year, my first hour class is sophomores. Every class starts with 10 minutes of journal writing to a prompt on the board, which is typically based on what they're learning in class. Unless it is Thursday, we do free write Thursdays. Or if something big has happened in the school or the community, we might have a prompt over that. If there is something going on in their lives that they really need to get out on the paper, they still have to write down the prompt, and then they can write like off topic, off to the side. And if it's something that they need to get out, but they don't particularly want me to see, they can let me know that off to the side as well. And I will just check to make sure that they have met the requirements of at least 5 sentences, and we'll move on from there. It's an easy grade for them for the week, and it is something that gets them into class, and I can see how they're feeling about the work that we're doing or other things that are going on, and it helps build their writing stamina as well. Then we write, we chat, we get settled in for the hour, and we get started on whatever the lesson is for the day. Each class is 55 minutes long, so after I attempt to get some sort of lesson work done with my chatty babies, we swap out. They go on to the rest of their day as the freshmen trickle in, and we start the process all over again. So from 7:50 to 11:54, I do the exact same routine with different lessons and prompts, but the kids come in, they get their binders out, they write, we chat, we get to the lesson. I go from sophomores to freshmen to juniors and then to my seniors, and at 11:54, I get my planning period. Now, that is right before lunch, so technically I have about 2 hours to plan, prep, eat, etc. But as I am in Texas and we have the UIL competitions during the time leading up to UIL, I typically spend the time working with elementary and junior high students on prepping for the UIL things that I cover. which is like ready writing and editorial writing for the 8th grade. And then we did modern oratory this year, as well as music memory. I will switch off and work with high school students in the spring. UIL's kind of trickled out for my students at this point, and we're swapped over to prepping for the Christmas program. So my planning period should have been kind of helping elementary kids practice for the Christmas program. But even though I am technically the music teacher, I am sitting the Christmas program out this year. The elementary teachers have it covered. They're doing a phenomenal job with it. And I'm helping the kids a little bit during, like the lower elementary kids, during our class time. However, I've had some very severe health issues over the last couple of months. And so I am not really able to be in there planning and prepping the kids for the program. And the elementary teachers, like I said, are doing a phenomenal job. I am, in fact, currently out of school for at least the next week because of having had surgery. But while I'm at school, if I'm feeling up to it, I stop and grab lunch at some point. But due to the health issues, I'm not really always hungry. I do like to go into the lunchroom during that time. And again, that's where my junior high girls are, and the upper elementary students have their lunch during my planning period. So I go in, talk to them, and talk to several of my coworkers who are in there as well. And then if kids need some help with homework or need to talk some things out, they enjoy having me come in and sit with them and discuss those things and kind of help them figure out their homework or competitions or whatever it is that they are in need of discussing. And then during my lunchtime, I'm also typically using it for prep or for working on my grad school courses. I do lesson plan and grade if I'm not working on other things with other students, but that's usually not what's happening. Then the kids start to trickle in again after their high school lunch because my next hour class is a mixture of 9th, 10th, and 11th graders who are supposed to be working on their online American Sign Language course or on other homework. I spend a lot of time telling them to actually be working on those things and a little bit of time helping them on other homework. Typically things that were due for me like 2 weeks ago and that I'm having to help them remember how to do at this point. Then when that class ends, I have 8th graders that run on out to the classroom from ag. It's the exact opposite ends of the building, so they do typically come in screeching and sliding into the classroom. And we again do our journaling, our lessons, and at the end of their class, I walk back into the building with them and get whatever elementary class has their turn for music that day. So on Mondays, I get preschool, Tuesdays, kindergarten, Wednesdays, first grade, and Thursdays, second grade. They get about 30 minutes of music, and then I take them back to their teachers just in time for them to pack up their bags and head out for the day. The dismissal bell rings at 4:30. Teachers can leave at 4:45. And it is at this point that my schedule will completely change on a day-to-day basis, depending on if I am needed to go to my parents' home, have a Zoom meeting or class, need to get my girls who stay with my parents during the week, have a sports ball game to work or watch, etc., etc. If it is a day where I just get to go home, I will drive that 75 miles back home, and I usually get here about 6:15, 6:20. So I am gone 12 plus hours a day, even if it is just a day where I go to school and come home. This semester, I spend that drive on a Zoom meeting once a week, then run into the house and switch to my laptop for the rest of that meeting. Some days I get to work on my doctoral homework in the 10 minutes worth of journaling time for my ELA courses during my planned period lunch and in the evenings when I get home. Some days I end up running around like a crazy lady, getting little to no work done on my courses. Most days I listen to an audiobook on my commute. That's how I consume a lot of my textbooks and research when I can. If my textbook or research is not available via an audio format, I then listen to books for my own enjoyment or books for readathons, book clubs, etc. that I participate in via the book community found on YouTube. For example, in the month of November, we had Nora November, which is where you read Nora Roberts books, Nonfiction November, which is kind of self-explanatory, and the book club I run, which is the Classic Children's Literature Book Club, which read A Wrinkle in Time. As I mentioned earlier, I do teach at a 4-day-a-week school, so I tend to spend Friday mornings working on housework and doctoral studies before going to pick up my kids from their 5-day-a-week school. The girls live with my parents during the week, so they don't have to have that crazy commute and long days on their tiny bodies. I go early on Fridays so I can help with anything my parents might need done at their house, since my mother does still have cancer and has now been recently diagnosed with diabetes. Between her health issues and mine, every day is a new adventure with who needs what and when. Of course, that schedule is changing now because the school my mother works at and that the girls attend is switching to a 4-day-a-week model now that the football season has ended. Of course, we had to wait on football. We are Texas. Have to have those big old moms. I can hear you thinking, yeah, that's great, Beth, but why are we chatting about this? That's a fabulous question, actually. Why a podcast? Why this podcast? Well, the simple answer is that this is in response to an assignment for my Writing with Digital Media course. The professor assigned a final wherein we have to create some sort of sound writing for our final project output. The really true answer, though, is that I got super excited about this assignment, and since the professor didn't want this to be a YouTube video project, which I knew more about, the next best thing was for me to learn how to do a podcast. Is this a crazy plan? Yep, probably. However, I am really looking forward to growing and learning and creating within the podcast element. Besides, I started out telling you guys that I'm crazy, and this obviously changes absolutely nothing. Other questions you might ask are, why books and crochet? Why a doctorate? Why this doctorate that is not on an educational path? Or perhaps, more importantly, why do we even care? I will address all of these questions and others in upcoming discussions. Today, let's go ahead and talk about why you should care. Honestly, you might not care at all. You may listen to me and decide that nothing I have to say is something that you resonate with. That is absolutely fine. I am not everybody's cup of tea, and you are not a student who is being forced to listen to me. If you aren't finding yourself interested in what I'm saying, I hope that you go ahead and find something you do connect with. All of our stories and the ways that we approach those stories are different. Time is a fickle creature that shouldn't be wasted in listening or interacting with something you don't feel some sort of interest in. Although, if you find something that you really resonate with and it seems like I might as well, please come back and let me know. I would love to find some new podcasts to listen to. That seems like a really nice segue into the question of why books and crochet, or more accurately for us, why books and crafting. And that's fairly simple in my mind. Books and crafting are two things that I fill my life with. I use crocheting as a way to occupy my hands and that antsy part of my mind during times when I need to sit still and pay attention to lectures or to the audiobooks that we are consuming as a class or to my dad's sermons on Sunday mornings. I create handmade items for family, friends, and students. And these items not only show that I care enough for them to create an item versus purchasing one, they allow for me to absorb knowledge more easily as the crafting keeps my mind focused. As for books, the world of words is the world I choose to immerse myself in. This world of words allows me to build a gorgeous home of my own creation, stocked with stories that I've written and read throughout my lifetime, and surrounded by a community of individuals who also love this world and thrive when surrounded by words. This community has helped me through real life issues, has been my cheering section and a wall to bounce ideas off of, has seen my children grow and has given me a shoulder to lean on through my own health issues as well as my mother's. The world of words is inclusive, accepting, creative, and allows me to connect crochet threads to literature without even batting an eyelash. If any of this sounds like something you'd like to hear more about, then come along with me. I would absolutely love for you to join this world that we've cobbled together with paper, ink, crafts, and the internet. Let's follow that text-covered road and see what we discover together. Whether you lurk in the corner sneaking snacks or join in on the conversation, you are more than welcome here. Grab a cup of tea or coffee and some taters, my precious. We have things to discuss. I'll talk to you again soon. Until then, stay safe out there, my friends.